What's up guys, Jiven back with another video. A lot of you have been telling me that you've been struggling in early game, so I'm here to help you out. I'm going to be giving you some early game strategies, off-spawn fighting tips, stuff like that. Before we hop into the video, it means the world to me if you use code JIVENTV in the item shop. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Without further ado, let's hop into this video. First thing I want to talk about is the Fortnite.gg map. As you can see, it's a map of the whole entire Fortnite map, and you can basically create loot paths, study chest spawns, and just build strategies all around the map. So this website is super good. It's super helpful. It's called Fortnite.gg. I use this map for multiple reasons. I use it to study where all the new stuff is on the map. You can open this up, choose what you want to see, such as bunker chests, all the new stuff in the game, mechanical parts, everything. I made a video back in the day talking about how I make loot paths. If you want to check that out, the link is in the description. I go into in-depth details about stuff like how you should rotate out of somewhere like Weather Station or how you should land here. For example, there's many places around here, so you need to be careful with how you rotate it. If you rotate straight down here, obviously you got to look out for Caddy. You also got to look out for the team over here if somebody lands there rotating up at you. If you rotate down here, there might be somebody landing at the bridge. You got to take in mind all the places that people could possibly land. I go into in-depth detail about that in the other video. The first thing I want to talk about in this video is basically a strategy for landing at POIs, and it works for some smaller outskirts spots as well. Basically, the idea is you want to land somewhere on the outside of a POI. For example, if you land here at this building, you're less likely to get rotated into and collapsed on than if you would have landed at this building. If you land at this building, people might be coming from here, just collapsing in on the middle building. And that's what people usually do at Lazy. But if you land somewhere like here, you can play patiently. This usually has enough loot for 1 or 2 people. If nobody lands over here, you can rotate that way. And then you can wait for the other people to collapse in here, and you can be the third party to show up. This is really important for if there's more than 2 people landing at your spot. For example, if you land here and there's 3 people, somebody might land here, somebody might land here, and they might push you at the same time, and then you're in the worst spot out of everybody at this place. But if you land somewhere on the outskirts, like even up here, you can rotate along the outsides of the map, the outsides of the POI, and then wait to strike until you hear them all fighting. You want to be careful in early game. Third parties are probably the most frustrating thing in early game, because of the fact that you don't have as much loot as you would in mid-game. Third parties in mid-game, it's still scuffed, but in early game, you don't have as many mats to build and protect yourself. So trying to minimize the chance of being third parties is really important, and you do that by landing on the outskirts and waiting to initiate the fight until you hear other people fighting. One thing you need to be careful about is if there's more than 3 people at your POI. For example, if you wait for the first fight to happen and then push in, there might be another person waiting to push in. So you really want to get a good understanding of what's going on in your POI before you initiate a fight. If 2 people land at your house, you're going to have to initiate that fight or try to dip. But this strategy is really helpful for knowing when to push to the center of your POIs. If you can count how many people come, then you know how many fights you have to wait for before you push. Let's look at another POI and let's see what I would do in that situation. Holly's another place I land at a lot, and I like to land at this spot here. I'll land here and then I kind of rotate behind the hedges. If I hear people fighting over here and I have good loot, then I'll push up behind the hedges and try to get a beam on one of them. However, if I land here and I really get bad loot and I don't hear anything going on over here, I'll break through these hedges and rotate behind the back here. And then I'll get up to this house and I'll get some extra loot. Then if I have good loot, I start scouting the whole entire map, trying to see how many people are left. And then once I see a good opportunity to push, I'm patient with it, but I push. However, if I landed at this center spot here, I might have people from here pushing up, here pushing up, here pushing up, all around me. You're in the center of the map, you're in the center of attention. Yeah, this is good for getting a lot of kills, but for survival, this limits your chance of survival so much. At a place like Holly, you can really land at any spot on the outskirt. It doesn't have to be just this house, Any spot on the outskirt and just playing your angles, rotating around the outer edge, That helps you out a lot. Let's check out another spot real quick. Steamy's another place I land a lot, and I like to land way back here, because if I land here, this is the main point of interest, this is the main center of attention. For the most part, all the fights go on here, which means that people from here are going to come third party. Me from over here, I usually come to third party. And yeah, it's just about rotating around the outer edges. If I land here and I have bad loot, which usually doesn't happen that often, I can loot here, maybe one of these, and then push in. You just got to be patient with off-spawn fights. Get your loot up and then push, and wait until you hear the other people fighting. Try to count how many people are coming to your spot so that you know when is the right time to push. If there's 3 people, you hear a fight going on, that means it's a perfect time to push because there's nobody else there and nobody to third party you, third partying them. It's kind of a strategy game. It's like chess, you know? Now let's talk about the Spire. One of the main things that people have been doing is aiming really high up, grabbing onto a zipline, and then dropping down onto loot. That's a good strategy to land on a gun fast. One thing that I noticed with this spot is it's probably better to loot from the top down or from the bottom up. I guess over here would be the bottom, from the bottom up. If you land somewhere in the middle here, you're gonna have the top rotating down on you, the bottom rotating up to you. You're kind of in the center of attention if you land in the middle here. There is a good amount of loot here, so if you're going for a high kill game, it might be best to land here. But typically I land up here because this is one of the higher elevation points other than the Spire itself. So I'll land up here and then I'll kind of rotate around the back and I make my way around in kind of like a loop. This kind of minimizes the chance of me getting third partied because the only way I could get third parties is I rotate here, there's someone here, and someone from there rotates here. So then it's like, you know, we're all collapsing, just 3 people collapsing on this spot, but it's a lot less scuffed than going over here and having this person rotate down, these people rotate up, having like 5 people fighting you at once. That's why I rotate around the back and I kind of make a loop and clear it out. This minimizes the chance of me getting third partied in my fights. I think you kind of get the idea of this, but take time to look at your spot on the map with this website. Try to figure out how you should rotate around it, and that'll help you survive a lot. You got to make sure that you're paying attention to how many people come to your spot. Some people just get tunnel vision and they're dropping and don't really pay attention, and then they're confused when they get third partied, but you know, if you're really paying attention when you're dropping off the bus, it'll help you out a lot. The rest of this video, I'm just going to be giving you a few fighting tips that'll help you to survive off spawn. First things first, the most OP guns off spawn are obviously pumps and primal shotguns. It's really hard to survive against these guns off spawn just because the makeshift guns are really bad. So something I've been trying to practice is listening for the audio cues of the pump and the primal shotgun. Because if you hear those things, the best chance of survival is to dip. Try to rotate to another building and get better loot. Something really important that you should be practicing right now is learning the audio cues of the new guns. They're brand new, and so it's kind of hard to identify them, for me at least. So if you die to, say, a primal shotgun, clip it and listen to it back over and over again and try to get an understanding of what it sounds like when that gun is pulled out. That way, if you hear that gun in the future, you know that you need to try to play your distance. That gun will absolutely shred you up close off spawn. So as soon as you hear that audio cue, try to stay at least 2 boxes away from your opponent. Maybe even just use your AR in that fight. Their plan is going to be get in your face and shred you with that gun. So if you play like 2 boxes back, they're going to be kind of surprised. Just keep spraying them with your AR from a distance until they die. Most important thing when fighting that gun is keep your distance, especially off spawn, because that thing will destroy you. I'm speaking from personal experience. If you only have an AR or like a pistol or something off spawn, your best chance of survival is dipping to another building if somebody's on you. But if you don't have the opportunity to run away, what you need to do is play like 2 boxes back, just like you would against a primal shotgun. Keep your distance and set up peeks from a distance away and spray back. Their goal is to get close and get you with the shotgun, so if you play further away, their shotgun is not going to do as much damage. Another piece of advice if you keep dying off spawn is play more patient. That's one thing I struggle with, you know, in off spawn fights you don't have very many mats, so you want to play your angles. Maybe camp behind right hand peaks, play it like a box fight almost. The hard thing about off spawn is you don't have very many mats, so you have to make your mats count. Play behind peaks and play patient. Spray away your opponent's builds, stuff like that, stuff you would literally do in a clicks box fight scenario. One thing I recommend is just try to get in a mindset like you're playing box fights off spawn. I play so many build fights, so I'm so used to just cranking retakes trying to piece control my opponent and going through builds fast. So I'm trying to train myself to get out of that mindset when I'm in early game and play more patiently. Another thing you can do is use your environment, playing angles with buildings. If you learn a spot really well, you know how to catch your opponent off guard from certain angles, whether it be a window or a certain wall that you can use as a right-hand peek. That's why I recommend landing at one spot over and over and over again so that you can learn the environment really well. If you've ever seen me play at Weather Station, you know that I know how to catch people off guard with gas cans, window peeks, and stuff like that. And another tip for early game fighting, you gotta learn a drop spot. If you're always just dropping at random points on the map, you're never going to learn full comfort with one place on the map. So my piece of advice that you may have heard before that I give to people who are trying to learn a spot on the map, land there over and over and over again until you can win there every single time. Once you have that spot down and you can win it every single time, try learning a new spot on the map. Build comfort with as many places on the map as you can, but take it one spot at a time. If you're learning a new spot on the map and you die off rip like 5 times in a row, you're going to want to go to one of the places that you're comfortable with and that you've already learned. That way you can regain some confidence. It can definitely be hard and frustrating learning a new spot on the map because you die a lot. So having a safe place that you can regain confidence at is definitely a good strategy. Anyways guys, that's all my tips for early game. Hopefully this video helped you get on the right track. If it did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, use code JivenTV in the item shop, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.